but thank you for choosing me. I feel very special and privileged. Today we're going to be talking about customer retention. And I will be honest with you, this has been a bit of a journey for me in terms of my own preparation for this talk, because a lot of you will know me as there's like the automation guy or the systems guy or the AI guy sometimes, talk about that kind of stuff. But probably not so much about retention. But yeah, as it turns out, I do have quite a lot to say. So I think you'll find it useful. Right, so when we're starting, I would like, if you wouldn't mind, just give by a show of hands, is this true? I hear this a lot, but I don't know if it's true. If I could just get your hands up and I get an idea. So, okay, all right, that's about half people feel it's harder. It's interesting, because it depends on who you talk to. But what we're talking about today is keeping people. So we talk a lot about how we attract new people in. We think a lot about how we're going to get new people on the top of our funnel and attract them in. But actually, do you know this? You may know this, it's quite a well-known stat, but acquiring new customers costs you 5 to 7 times more than it does keeping hold of the existing ones that you've got. And if it is feeling harder right now to attract those new people in, then I would suggest a very smart place to start looking and thinking would be, how can I keep the people that I've just attracted and spent all that time and money and effort getting them in? How do I keep them for longer? So let's start there. But what I would like to ask you as well is get a feel for where you think your retention is at. So I'm going to define it first. So retention in this scenario is your annual retention. So how many people as a percentage would you think would it start with you, say January to March last year, and they were still with you January to March this year? So have a little think about that. And if you think it was more than 30%, just put your hands up. Okay, so that is most people. Okay, so did we get that? Okay, sorry, right. So of the people that started with you at the beginning of last year, January to March last year, as a percentage, how many of them stayed with you? They were still with you January to March this year. Yeah? So as a percentage, 30% or more, would you say? Hands up. Brilliant. Okay, 50% or more, keep your hands up. 70% or more, keep your hands up. Brilliant. That's great. Okay, so the majority of you actually, probably about 2/3, I'd say, feel about 70%. Who was at the ICAP Awards about a couple months ago? Do you remember this when they presented this stat? They were very, very confused. They said, we've done a survey, and the average retention, annual retention, by that definition, in the whole of all the activity providers is 75%. And they said, but then we've run the numbers. And so what they did was they approached us at Book That In, they approached all the other booking systems in the class activity space, and they said, right, give us your data so we can work out what the actual retention is. And what was incredibly interesting was that the actual number is 30 to 40%. It's an average, so you may well be better than that. But what they were struggling with, they were like, we don't really get it. We don't really understand why everyone thinks they're on 75, but actually it's closer to 35. And I've been thinking about this, and I have the answer for you today. And the reason that it doesn't feel like 75% is because they're talking about annual retention. And the chances are when you're thinking about your retention, you're thinking about it from term to term, or half term to half term. And it makes sense, right, that if you have different drop-off points, you're going to lose fewer people each time to get to the same number, right? I didn't say that very well. But let's say you have 35% of retention. Okay, that means you start with 100. At the end of those 100, 35 of them are still with you. But if you ask them termly, 3 different terms, to if they want to come back or not, then you actually only need to lose 30% each term to end up on 35 at the end of the year. And I think a lot of you probably do half terms. If you increase that to half terms, you only need to lose 16%. So your retention from half term to half term is 84%. But if it's 84% from half term to half term, that's these numbers here, that's how it looks. That you just lose 16, well, not quite that because it decreases with the percentage, but you get it. You'll end up on 35. So that's why it feels like you've got a much higher retention than the actual reality. And yeah, so 100 children at the beginning of the year will become 35, which means that if you do it in terms, this is an easy way to think about it, you do 3 terms, you're losing 30 kids each term. You need to find 30 new children to just stay the same. So that's 90 children per year. It's not 65 that you would lose over the year, it's 90. If you're doing it half terms, it increases again. It's like the reverse of compound interest or something, I don't understand, but you will have to get 96 children each half term. If you do pay-as-you-go, anyone do pay-as-you-go? Right, if then you'll make that is harder for you. You know, it's 108 kids you need over the whole year to bring in new kids to hit your 35% retention. So let's look at retention, shall we? Let's see what we can do to improve it. And the good news is, although those numbers sound kind of high, like how can I get better than 84%? I promise you can. And I've got lots and lots of different ideas to share with you today that you can take away and use it. And if we do crack it, if you take away and implement some of these things, if we crack it, this is what happens. Okay, if you don't recruit anybody more than you're 30, so let's say you were just breaking even, the last few years, you're staying the same, you're not really growing, but you want to grow this year. If you increase your retention from 30%, 35% to 50%, you'll end on 117 instead of 100. If you get it up to 60%, you'll end on 126 instead of 100. So you'll grow by 26%. And you are just doing the same thing that you were doing before. You're just keeping people, the people that you attracted. So putting it another way, if you weren't going to increase your retention, but you wanted to grow by 126%, 26%, then you would need to attract 12 more kids. So you need to have 42 in total over each term if you would work internally, and you started with 100 just to grow up to that 126 at the end of the year. Okay, so I'm going to get my imposter syndrome out of the way because I was a little bit, as I said before, I was a little bit like, who am I to talk about retention? But it turns out that I have a very good track record with retention, as you'll be pleased to know. So I thought I should share with you so you do know why I'm sharing it and why you should listen. But a lot of you will know that I am the co-founder of Book That In, which was founded in 2017. And we have a very good retention rate in Book That In. I know that we have some of our customers from 9 years ago, the very first ones, they are still with us 9 years later. So I know we're doing a lot of good things there. But more than that, we are helping our customers. So all the activity providers we work with, we've built things into our tool, into our systems that help them with their retention. So that's Book That In. I also founded Toddle About. That's my first business back in 2009. It still exists, and we're thriving as a franchise business. But retention there is really good. So when we run, so I should explain probably, each franchise area has their own local magazine, and they also run their own annual shows, and we have an online hub, which, by the way, if you haven't got an online listing, it is free, so please just go to toddleabout.co.uk and get your free listing. But yeah, we used to track, so advertising retention is quite tricky. From one magazine to the next, but our retention is about 80% of advertisers will stick with us from one issue to the next. So it's really high, and I've looked at why those things were. And I'm a dad. That has less to do with retention, though. Although I did, thank you. I stole my punchline, but yes. Yeah, we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary this year. So thank you. She's stuck around, which is nice. And the kids haven't run away, so that's good too. In this scenario, in this setting, right, I've got 3 kids. We've home educated them. We've been to a lot of classes. The eldest is 18. The girls, they've been going to gymnastics for about 14 years. They've stuck with that one. And I've been looking at, why did they stay with that one? And then there was others that they only went to one session or maybe a term and then they gave it up. So I've been putting that filter on as well with everything that I've been doing here. But the main place that I learned about retention was way back at the turn of the century when I looked like that. Not the most flattering picture from when I was 20 or whatever I was. I did this crazy summer job. I went to America and I sold books door to door in America. And we did it for 13 weeks over the summer. We worked 6 days a week, 80 hours a week, just knocking on doors. Not only that, it was fully commission-based, no salary, so you only earn what you sold, and you had to pay your own way to get there. I'm looking back and thinking I was crazy. How they got us to do that is madness. But here's the thing. They didn't just get us there the first time. They kept us coming back and coming back. I did 5 summers doing that. Not only that, I recruited my friends to come with me. It was a multi-level marketing business. Got my chums to come. They got their chums to come. They came back year after year, and it grew. But retention in that business, if you can get people to come back and do that again, the stuff I learned there was invaluable to what I've put into this talk today. But it wasn't just getting them to come back year after year. It was actually just getting them to stick out the first summer because, about 50 to 60% of them would leave. People would quit in the first 3 weeks, which you will not be surprised to hear. But it took me a little while to work it out. But in my 4th summer, we had, I took out 20 kids with me, and 19 of them stuck it out for the whole summer, which was pretty much unheard of. And I had the number 1 team in Europe that year, and it was a fantastic achievement. But I had the number 1 team because we retained them, because they stayed on the field. And unsurprisingly, a lot of them came then back. And when I finished after 5 years, my organization had about 52 people in. So I was only 23. It was quite an achievement. But yeah, I've used a lot of that to put it into this talk today. Okay, that's my team. That was my number 1 team afterwards at an awards, and there's me looking all chubby and bright, fresh-faced. All right, we're going to get into it. So first of all, retention. Who are we retaining? Are we retaining the parent? Yeah? Or are we retaining the child? Both, of course, yes. So when you're attracting them for the first time, probably the parent. Yeah, they're the ones that you're selling to. But to keep them, the child then becomes incredibly important. So we are going to talk about things you can do with both the parent and the child. And the number 1 reason kids come back? They love it, right? That is absolutely it. I am not here to tell you how to make your class so amazing they love it. I cannot do that. But I'm assuming that actually you've probably already nailed it, right? Your classes, I'm sure, are fantastic. But this is the number 1. If for any reason you're not sure about this, start there before you come on to everything else that I'm going to talk about today. Okay, so I have invented my own framework. I think I might give it a name. I was thinking this on the train on the way up. I have called it the 4 C's of customer retention, which is so boring. So, I don't know, like Freed's framework of 4. I like that. That came to me, but yeah, if you have any ideas, let me know. Anyway, there's 4 key areas. All begin with a C because that makes it nice and memorable. You have care, consistency, convenience, and connection. Okay? And if you nail all of these things, then something beautiful comes out from the whole. The sum is greater. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Okay, so care. I would like you, if you wouldn't mind, just to think. Close your eyes if you like, but that would be weird, so you don't have to. But think of a time when someone made you feel special. They made you feel looked after. And what did they do to make you feel that way? And I am just going to ask for anyone to volunteer what somebody did to make them feel looked after, feel special. Yes, please. They listened, yes. Okay, great example.
They remembered things that I had said. So, like, or I'm running the race, so next time they might say, "Oh, how did the race go?"
Right.
It's,
They connected with you individually, and they remembered. Okay. Rachel.
Did something extraordinary.
Yes, they put in some effort to actually made a sacrifice. Brilliant. Yeah.
They did what they said they were going to do.
They did, yes. They followed through. Okay, brilliant. I think there are 3 key elements to an act of care. Now, I know that you all care about your customers, right? But do they know it? That's the question. So if you're going to increase retention, they need to know that you care. So there's things you can do. And everything that you do that is an act of care will have 3 elements. It will have effort in. So we heard about effort. They went the extra mile. They made a sacrifice. They reassured me. So they did something that shared. They kept communicating. They followed through on what they did. So it was reassuring, and it was personal. So they remembered about me, about my race, about whatever. It was personal. So if you can nail those 3 things, then you've got a fantastic act of care that's going to really hit home. Get handwritten cards these days. Yeah, phonics. We're not ready to do. But yeah, if you can write, take the time. It's got effort. You've taken the time. It's personal. You can write something. It can be reassuring. You can hit all those things beautifully, and it's unexpected. And other people are not doing this. An end-of-term progress note. So this may be something you do already, but it's personalized. It takes effort, and it shows them, how their child has been progressing, which is very, really, really reassuring that they're in the right place. How are you finding it? Phone call. That might be pushing it out a little bit, but a couple of weeks in, the kids still aren't quite sure if this is the right class for them. A little check-in might go a very long way to making them realize that you care. This is interesting, but taking a few moments between classes. So if you, I think if you just have classes, they end at 10:30, the next one starts at 10:30, 11:30, it starts at 11:30, it feels very transactional. It feels like I'm just going to squeeze them all in, make the most money I can in it, and I think just leaving that little gap actually shows that you care, especially if you come out and you talk to people, and it gives them a chance to talk to you before or after the class. Just that little change, I think, can make quite a big difference. Hopefully this is, remembering the child's name is a given, but how many of you know all the parents' names? I know a lot of the providers that we work with don't know my name. So remembering the parents' names, I think, is a great personal thing to do. Deal with problems if they come up. They say the best time to ask for a review is after you've dealt with a problem and resolved it effectively. So if a problem comes up, don't worry. They always come up, but deal with it, and deal with it quickly and effectively. And then follow up afterwards, I would suggest. Check in, make sure what you've changed has worked. And this one is one from observing, having 3 kids, right? Kids know when they are not being treated fairly, and they are very, very sensitive to things being fair. And I think it can be quite hard sometimes. I know I used to work as a scout leader, and it can be hard when there's the good kids who are really nice and they do what you say, and then there's the trickier kids. And it can be hard sometimes, I think, not to even subconsciously show favoritism, but the children will notice. And if you want the children to want to stay, they need to know that you care about them all equally and they get equal attention. And make sure you engage with every child, every session. Make sure at least they get a little bit of your time just talking to them. So that was just some ideas. Hopefully you'll take some of those away. Measuring it's really hard. Okay, how do you know if you're doing a good job with care, especially showing people that you care? And I would suggest that you look at your reviews and you look at the wording that people put in their reviews. So I've just stolen some of our reviews to book that in because, I wanted you to see how much people liked us. But words like this, I've never felt less than. That shows that they know that we care. You went above and beyond. They checked in. That kind of effort is being exemplified. And this review, I love this one from Marie, but she has used the word personal 3 times. So I think we were getting the personal bit okay with her. But yeah, look at your reviews and make sure you're asking for them as well. Okay, care. We good?
Can I just really quickly ask about reviews?
Yeah.
So it's something that's kind of built into the system so that we ask for that kind of nearer the end of a term or something like that. But I'm finding that the reviews that are starting to come in now are AI, as in they're going to ChatGPT, they're typing in, we love this is brilliant.
Right.
Here's 3 sentences, and then it goes on and you see it, and the M dashes are there, and it's longer than how maybe that parent we know might converse, and it just feels like disconnected almost.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to say to my customers, please don't use AI when you write a review.
Yeah.
I'd be using it, for access or whatever.
Yes.
Navigating that. Any ideas?
So no, that's the first time someone's brought it up for me. Yeah?
Yeah, nice.
Thank you. Video testimonials is a fantastic idea. Yeah, they're so much more authentic and quicker and easier to do. Not everyone will want to, but they are very powerful.
I think a lot of people, if they're feeling really authentic about it as well, would take the time to write the review rather than just do a ChatGPT one. That's maybe someone that thinks, oh, I just need to get this out of the way.
Yeah, I think in one of my locations that I run, English is a second language, so I think they're often using that as a tool for access rather than quickness. And I totally get that, but
I think my feeling here is that the answer to the problem is probably a more personal approach, because it sounds like you've got a system in place, which is brilliant. I love systems. I'm all about that, because no one slips through the cracks. But I remember one technique I was taught a long time ago to get a great review is you speak to them first, and then you actually send them. You say, "You said this to me. Are you happy for this to be a review?" You basically write it for them, and then they can change it, tweak it, and send it back. So that was one method I was taught, which is very effective, but it does take more time. Anyway, we're gonna crack on because there's lots to cover. But the second one is consistency. Okay, and with consistency, I would again like you to engage your brain if you wouldn't mind, but think about somebody who shows up the same every time for you. They do what they say they're going to do, week in, week out. They're consistent with what they send to you or what they say to you or what they give to you. And how does that make you feel? So I'm not going to ask for what they did this time, but I'm going to ask for how did that make you feel about that person or that business who is so consistent in what they do? Trust.
Makes you appreciate them more.
Yeah, you appreciate them, definitely. Trust. That's exactly what I said. I think consistency builds trust. It's
Reliability as well, that reliability.
100% reliability, because people will be like, you're on top of your game. You know what you're doing. You're organized. You show up the same way, the way you said you were going to do. Consistency can be a bit boring, but actually it's so hugely important, and it builds trust. And the thing about trust is when parents come to your class, they're just giving you their trust, right? They don't know you yet. They're just saying, please do a good job. I'm trusting you to do a good job. But after that, every single interaction you have with them is your chance to keep earning it, and especially not to lose it. Because unfortunately, losing trust is one of the easiest things to do. You just have to get it wrong once, and people are like, I don't know if they're going to do it right next time or do it the same. So it's quite hard. Consistency is hard, but it's very, very powerful, especially in the case of retention. So there's different kinds of consistency that I'd like to talk to you about. There's consistency of communication. So think about the person who sends you an email and it lands in your inbox every single day of the same day of the week, same time, and it comes through. You don't even need to read it, yeah? Because you just see the headline, you see it come in, you go, you just get this feeling. They are organized. They're on top of their game. It's consistent, okay? Queen of that is Chrissy Monahan. She sends, I get so many emails from her, but it's consistent. And Kate from Rawsome Sport, I don't know if Kate's here. Oh, there you are, right in the front. How did I not see you? Sorry, Kate. Yeah. So Kate's very good at this now. She has an email, drops in same day, same time, every single week. It just breeds consistency. Consistency of delivery. So your classes every week, are they good every week? Are you consistently making sure the kids are happy, they're achieving, they are progressing? And is the structure consistent? You're obviously not going to do the same class every week, but is the structure consistent? That helps with the children knowing and feeling less anxiety, knowing that they are safe and secure. And then consistency of outcomes. So the parents, particularly, typically want outcomes. They want to know that their child is progressing. And so you do need to make sure that they are continually progressing, but also that the outcomes are consistent with what you promised at the beginning. Because if you're not consistent there, you've lost trust completely. If you sell something and deliver something different, you will lose them. So, look at your marketing materials, make sure that what you send is not over-promising, and that your expectations are very, very clear. Okay, so some practical ideas. So it's very, very simple, but always start and finish on time. My wife hates it when the class finishes late. And she's sat, and all the parents moaned at each other, going, oh, they're always late. They're always like about 10 minutes late. So it seems like a simple thing, but always start and finish on time. That's one of my tips. Consistently deliver a great experience every time. Same start ritual. So do you guys have start rituals? Starting rituals? Yeah, I think that's really powerful. The classes my kids have gone to where they know what they're going to do when they first start. They just feel a lot happier going in, and they look forward to it a lot more. And an end ritual. Do you do an end ritual as well? Cool. I think the classes we've been to, they do that again. It's just really, really powerful to, for the kids, I think when they come out, we ask them, right, how was your class? How did you get on? Was it fun? What did you do? And I think it's a great opportunity for you as a provider to help them focus on the stuff that that they progressed with, because you can recognize that, and then they will talk about that. That's what they'll mention. If they don't just say stuff, then they will. So weekly newsletter, same time, same day of the week, or same month. It doesn't matter if it's monthly or weekly, by the way, as long as it's consistent. That's the important thing here. A reminder, 48 hours before your first class. The personalized progress report, it's come up twice. It was in care, but now if you do it every single term, it's consistent, and you're building trust as well as showing care. A trial follow-up. Like sometimes, I was thinking about how can you make sure your trials are converting if you do trials. How can you convert them to a full-term booking? Just having a sequence that reminds them regularly over time shows actually, if they're on the fence, they're like, actually, these people are on top of their game. They know what they're doing. I think that's enough to push some people over the edge to book. A termly outline, let them know that you've prepared, that you're consistent with sending that out every term. Don't just do it once. That will have the opposite effect. But, send that out regularly each term. And if you do have rules, stick to them and apply them fairly. Be consistent in that. Okay. So consistency is hard, as I've said. And my tip on that is to make sure you have systems in place to support that, so you don't forget things, because what you don't want to do is start doing something, like I said, and then not deliver. So my big tip is to get a CRM, and my shameless plug here is that we have our own. So if you're interested in a CRM system, we book that in Automate. We're very, very happy to talk to you about that, and it can help you with automating all of your communications and things to keep that consistent. Okay, the next one is convenience. This is my favorite. Who buys from Amazon? Yeah? We all buy from Amazon. Well, not all of them. I'm sure there will be a few of us who are like, no, definitely not buying from Amazon. But a lot of us do. Who genuinely has feelings of affection towards Amazon? Yeah? We have one on the front. Hands up. I don't. I don't think they care two hoots about me. The first one on care, they've not got that. But convenience, everything in one place, one-click purchase, next-day delivery. If I don't like it, I can send it back, no quibble. Golly, it's convenient. And one thing that Jeff Bezos said this is one of his quotes, but he says, the best customer service is if the customer doesn't need to call you, doesn't need to talk to you. He's not about connecting with them, is he? It just works. And they have nailed it. They may not have nailed all four of the things I'm going to talk about, but they have nailed convenience. And I think convenience may present a fantastic opportunity for a lot of you. Because essentially what he's saying is great convenience is the absence of friction. And your job, when it comes to retention, is to make it easier for them to stay than it is to leave. Okay, so the truth of the matter is, if you give them a decision point, if you ask them to rebook, every time you ask them to rebook, that's a decision point, and that's an opportunity for them to say no. And that's why your retention rate has to be so much higher every single term, half term, etc. So I'm going to actually go back to the maths on this, so I hope you don't mind, but I wanted to illustrate this properly. But the more decision points you give, the more lost customers you're going to have. So how many people do have that process in place where you will send a link for them to rebook every term or every half term or whatever? Okay. So this is for you. Because if we are talking about annual retention, 35%, there's one decision point. One decision point. Not many people do that in this room. I would hesitate. I would suggest. One decision point means that you have to find 65 new customers a year. If you do it termly, there's 3 decision points, and then you have to find 90. So I'm going back to these numbers. But if you do it half-termly, there's 6 decision points, and then so you have to find 96 new customers just to stay even at 35%. And if you do pay-as-you-go or per session bookings, then you've got to have 97% retention session to session to end up with 35% at the end of the year. So it does make your life harder when it comes to retention, the more decision points you add in. Okay, so my tip for you here is to think, if you offer pay-as-you-go, it might be the right thing. I'm not here telling you not to offer pay-as-you-go. I'm just telling you to think about it. Like, is it the right thing to do? And half terms, could I turn half terms to termly? Could I give that option just to reduce that churn? Okay, the next part of convenience employs Isaac Newton's second law of motion about inertia. And inertia, if you remember from GCSE physics, is that a body in motion will stay in motion unless something stops it, right? Unless there is some sort of friction to stop it. And we're talking about friction with asking them to rebook, but also what if we just changed the default? So the default now is no longer please rebook. The default is you have been rebooked. Right? The default is they're staying. And you do that through subscriptions, and you do it through something called auto re-enrollment. So subscriptions, we all know what they are. We all sign up to Prime and Netflix and etc. And we pay our monthly subscription. Subscriptions can work really, really well for classes. People can just pay monthly, and you never have to ask them to rebook. They just keep going until they want to stop. Auto re-enrollment, and I use that term because I think it's fairly standard in the industry now, but it's a facility that we built into Book That In many years ago. But it's the same kind of thing, but it's termly based. So for some class providers, running a monthly subscription causes headaches because they don't run in August, or because they do a couple of classes in December, not the 5, and some months they're getting 5, some months they're getting 2, but they're paying the same every single month. It can get a little bit tricky, sometimes managing parents' expectations. If you do it termly, then it's flexible. So people are still booking in half-termly or termly, the same way that they are now, but the default is that they have to opt out. They have to cancel, not book in. And it just makes the world of difference. I remember getting an email from one of our clients just saying, this has been a game changer in terms of the amount of work that I have to do each term. Because they just all rebook. And if they don't, they just click a button to say I don't want to, and it's all handled. So,
can I just add to that? I'm a member of Gourmet Society, and I have been for 15 years, and I've never used the card, and every time I get it must be an email. Oh no, it goes out my bank account.
Yeah.
I cannot find any details to cancel it, and my brother said to me about 4 weeks ago, do you have a payment of £37 come out of your bank account every year? And I've been paying for my brother for 15 years. And he's never used it because he didn't know what it was when it comes back.
Yep, that's inertia. That's inertia. A great example. It's just the status quo will continue if you allow it to. But if you're asking them to rebook, you're adding in friction. So this was a quote from Rory Sutherland, but the most powerful force in business is inertia. And I ran the numbers, okay, because I didn't want to just stand here and say, it will increase your retention. I looked at our providers within Book That In. I looked at the ones who are asking them to manually rebook. I looked at the ones who are asking them to using auto re-enrollment and the ones who are using subscriptions, and it is wildly different. Right, this is annual retention differences, depending on which model you choose. And it's an average, so some are higher, some are lower, but this is, I would suggest, potentially a relatively quick win. And we were talking about getting from 35% to 60%. This could be a way to do it, if you're not doing it already. Other benefits to subscription models, you know these already, but your customers will be happier because they don't have to rebook. Their place is secured. They're not worried about getting it. They pay in smaller installments. So it's an easier psychological thing to justify, both when you're selling, but also just keeping them there. They're like, oh, it's 25 quid a month, 30 quid a month. Yeah, that's fine. We can afford that. But for you, you're going to get consistent income. So less of these peaks and troughs each half term or term. It comes in the same first of the month, every month. You'll get your consistent income. So I can whip through the practical ideas a little bit because we've talked about a lot of them, but subscriptions with automatic billing, auto re-enrollment. If you are going to ask them to rebook, and it might be the right thing for you, like I said, every business is different. I can't stand up here and tell you you should be doing this, but if you are going to stick with rebooking, make sure that it's easy. So the form pre-fills when they enter their details. Their card details are saved. If your booking system is not doing that, come talk to me, because ours does. Does it send out smart reminders before renewal points? And here's a tip. If you're using subscriptions, there is that monthly potential, that monthly risk. And when I talk to people about moving to subscriptions, they often say, but then they could just stop mid-term, and I don't want that. And I'd say, okay, well then use auto re-enrollment. Or, as an option, if you want to stick with monthly subscriptions, see if you can use minimum subscription periods. So like you can say you can't cancel in the first 3 months, or a notice period. Make sure there's a 1 month notice period, 2 month notice period, so that if they do cancel, you've got time to refill the space. A good booking system will be able to do that for you. Right, that's the consistency in one thing. One thing we haven't talked about was convenience. I've done consistency. Damn, Tim. Convenience is convenience of the physical location. So do review your venue. Has it got good parking? And is it accessible? Because that will make a difference to whether people come back and stick with you. Okay, so that is convenience.
Can I just ask a question? You know when they're paying monthly, paying through
Yes.
monthly, have you had a look at your figures to see how many more kind of like payments don't go through and how much more chasing there is on that?
I haven't done that. There are ways of helping with that, though. So I don't know the numbers on how many that happens. I do know it's the minority. But if you use Stripe, we use Stripe. When integrate with Stripe, most of the businesses do. The Stripe has an automatic retry, and you can set that up so it automatically retries several times. And again, within our booking system, but probably with others as well, it sends an email out asking parents to change their card. So you can minimize that by making sure those processes are in place. But you are right, there will be some instances where they need to update their card details. So that is something to be aware of. If you can make sure that they're all the payments are coming out on the first of the month, that's another good thing, because then you're only doing that job once a month to just check. So yeah, thank you. Okay, last C is connection. And connection, as Brené Brown said, is why we are here. It's what gives us meaning and purpose to our lives. It is a recognized fundamental human need. We're in this weird age of loneliness. We've got a loneliness epidemic. And if you, in your classes, can allow parents and the kids to properly make proper connections, they're going to stick with you for longer. So there's two kinds of connection in your business. Okay, there's the connections that you create between you and with the kids and with the parents, and we've covered that. I think we've covered that with care. But the other connection is the connection that you facilitate. So it's the environment that you have created that allows them to connect with each other. And I think this is a really, really powerful part of what retention is. And when I look back on my Southwestern days, this was what kept us. Because we weren't thinking so much about me, we were thinking about us. When we were thinking about should we stay on, it was about the community, because we had made proper bonds with each other. So you have a fantastic opportunity to build that connection, to build that community as activity providers. At the end of term or something, you can have some shared moments where the parents can come in. And I'm sure a lot of you do this already. But if you run theatre classes, you'll be having a performance that the kids are working towards. But if you don't, then definitely think about this or how you can make more of it. Making sure the parents are in. How can you make sure that memory, that that event really does foster connection between the parents. Like, how can you get them to engage? We are currently at a fantastic example of how to host an event and create community. Tess has done a brilliant job by bringing everyone together and giving us all opportunities to talk through icebreakers, forcing us to talk to each other. Think about what you can do to make the most of those things. But those shared moments, they have shared pride, they are shared memories, and the class stops being transactional. It becomes more of a social event that people are excited to be a part of. So some practical connection ideas for you. WhatsApp groups. Who's got a WhatsApp group for the parents? Yeah, some of us. Amazing, right? We don't want one more WhatsApp group, but actually this is a powerful WhatsApp group, powerful tool. End of year performances, a family camp. I threw this in here because when we did Scouts, we did a family camp, and this might terrify you, and it might not be something you want to do. But in our Scout group, the parents would just come, drop the kids off, they'd pick them up and they'd leave. There was zero connection. And we wanted to build more of a community, and we just had a weekend that wasn't just for the kids who were Scouts. We invited all the parents, all the siblings, and we had this family camp for 2 nights, and it was the most amazing bonding experience. After that, all the parents were chatting, they were bonding, the kids were closer. It was really, really powerful. Question?
From the Scout group.
Ah.
We have family camp every 2 years, and the camp is 100% subscribed. Everyone comes, everyone loves it, and you never see so many dads go off their backsides. You actually start building zip wires, building bridges, getting them down with their children, and they also have great this communication between parents that makes the group grow stronger.
Yes.
And children then communicate after that.
Thank you. And getting the parents involved can be hard, but that is such a fantastic way of doing it. I think, if you can think of a way of doing that, fantastic. There is, I do have a real example as well. Cha Cha Chimps, who are one of our clients, they have a family camp that they run every year or two, and they do that too. It's a very cool thing to do if you can. Yeah, Adam.
Just on that, family camps, most of my work is with primary age children, but I do a little bit of work with secondary as well.
Yeah.
Is that harder? Does the dynamic change when they get to adolescence, being with families?
I think so, but becomes all the more powerful if you can pull it off. So yeah, I wouldn't give up on it. But yeah, I think it's more challenging. Okay, birthday or milestone shout outs. So you could factor this into the end of session, invite the parents in, everyone sings happy birthday, or if someone's reached a particular milestone in their progress, let's celebrate it all together. The parents are part of that. Mentoring, so if you have older kids who can mentor the younger kids, that's a great way of fostering connection between the children themselves. The language you use as well, I think, can be really powerful. So, I was saying before, it's not about me anymore, it's about us. You lead from the front in terms of that language. Welcoming people to your family is a very powerful term, and it shows that that's how you feel about everybody that is in your classes. The language you use makes a difference. So think about the language you use, as well as kids helping, but get the parents involved. If there's ways that they can be part and help out with the sessions, or they can help out in any way that will help them, help the club and help the group, that's good. Parent socials. I actually threw this one in. I wasn't sure if this was a good idea or not. Has anyone done this before? Yeah? Parent socials. Okay, a few people.
I've had a Facebook group before.
Yeah?
That was private and closed to share photos of the children every week.
Yeah?
I very quickly stopped it.
Okay.
It was just useless.
But what I mean here is not, actually, I didn't mean social networking. I meant actual meet up at a coffee shop.
We did Bongo Bingos, I did a group.
Yeah?
Bongo Bingos.
And?
It was good, yeah, really good. And that group have stayed really good friends. Well, both, I've done it twice actually.
Okay.
Just for an excuse for me to go, but yeah, really, really good group of friends then that's come out.
Okay. And Rachel?
And also, if you choose venues that have catering or some kind of restaurant or cafe on site or nearby, you can always do a deal with them that you will recommend it to your families. They get a little discount.
I love that.
They go in together and get that time to
Yeah.
chat.
Yes, not even on site. It could be nearby, like one of the nearby. Oh yeah, great.
Connect.
Did everyone hear that? That was just making sure there's a facility, like if there's a nearby cafe or something like that, you could do a deal with them, get a discount for the parents, they might go there.
Like pottery painting, wreath making, different things.
So good. Oh, I love that. I wasn't sure because none of the classes we've done have actually said that, but I was like, that would be cool.
I think that's why people come to my sessions, because I work with mums and babies.
Right.
And I'm sure that they come for the social side, the WhatsApp group. and
Right.
The best we do.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You've just supported my whole theory. That was great. Okay, just boshing through then, your values. So when you want to build a community, you need to be the leader of that community and people need to buy into that. You know, they might be from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, different personalities, but if they can connect under your values, they will have that shared. So make sure you're communicating what's important to you, why you run the class, and things like that. I've mentioned this before, but making sure you've got gaps between classes, so it kind of ties in with having somewhere for them to go as well. Sharing photos. So if you're sharing photos, obviously make sure you have permission to do so, but sharing things from behind the scenes, bringing them into your world so they know what you're doing and what you're preparing. And then long-term member recognition. I thought this was quite a nice thing. We're basically done, thanks. Long-term member recognition is a great thing to look at. So, recognize people who've been with you for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years. Okay, so we have covered care, they feel special. We've covered consistency, they trust. Convenience, it's easy to stay. Connection, they build relationships. And what that means is you've built a community. And the community is when people feel they belong. And if they belong, the fantastic, happy byproduct is you're not just retaining people, but they will bring others with them and they will recommend you. So retention actually goes full circle and it helps us with bringing people in at the top as well. And if you want any help with all this stuff, then I've mentioned it a few times through, but book that in. We can support you with easy booking, subscriptions, auto re-enrollment, CRM follow-ups, and all that fun stuff. And we do care, I promise. We really do care. So if you would like to, you can book a call with me. In your programs, the QR code's in there, so you don't have to take it right now. But please do book a call with me. I'd love to chat with you about how we can help. And thank you very much for your attention.